All right, let's talk about something that sounds almost impossible. How do you turn $100 into $10,000? Now, I know what you're thinking. Sounds like some kind of magic trick, right? But it's not. It's all about strategy, a little bit of discipline, and knowing the right moves. So let's dive in and actually map out how you can do it. So let's get right to it. Can $100 really become $10,000? The short answer, yes, absolutely. But, and this is a big but, it's not going to happen by gambling on some crazy stock tip or chasing the latest hype. Nope. The journey from a small start to a really big outcome is all about taking smart, consistent steps, one after another, and that's exactly the path we're going to lay out for you right now.
You've got to think about it like this. Every giant tree started out as just a tiny seed. And that idea, that's the heart of this whole strategy. Your $100 isn't just $100. It's a seed. It's the starting point, the little launch pad for something way, way bigger. And I promise you, once you start seeing it that way, your entire perspective just shifts.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to tackle the mindset, the $10,000 dream. Then we'll build your foundation. After that, we'll get to the fun part, making your first investment. Next up, we'll cover how to accelerate that growth, and then how to play the long game. And stick with me, because at the very end, I'll give you your first step to take today. All right, Section 1, the $10,000 dream. And look, it all starts with your mindset. Before we even think about stocks or apps or anything like that, we have to get our heads in the right place. Seriously, the journey to 10 grand, it starts in your mind, not in your wallet. So what is the right mindset? Well, it really boils down to 3 core beliefs you gotta have. First, you have to genuinely believe that your small money can do big things, that your seed can become a tree. Second, you have to commit to long-term thinking. This is a marathon, not a 100-yard dash. And third, you have to accept that there's risk, but your job is to control it. We're investing here, not rolling the dice in Vegas. Okay, so your head's in the game. Now for Section 2, building your foundation. Think of it as preparing the soil. You wouldn't just toss a seed onto concrete and hope for the best, right? Same thing goes for your money. Before we even touch that $100 for investing, we've got to make sure your financial ground is fertile and ready for growth. And here's what that looks like in practice. Before you plant that seed, you got to do a few things. First, create a small emergency fund. I'm talking 50, maybe $200. This little cushion is what stops you from having to panic sell your investments when your car breaks down. And second, and this is huge, you got to clear out any high-interest debt. Things like credit cards? Yeah, getting rid of that debt is honestly one of the most powerful financial moves you can ever make. Just think about this for a second. Let's say you have a credit card with a 20% interest rate. Paying that off, that's like getting a guaranteed 20% return on your money. No risk. Now compare that to the stock market. In a really good year, you might get an 8 to 10% return, and that comes with risk. You see the math, right? Tackling that high-interest debt first isn't just a good idea, it's almost always the smartest investment you can possibly make. All right, your foundation is solid, the soil is prepped. Now for the part you've been waiting for, actually planting that $100 seed. Let's get into the simplest, most effective ways for a beginner to actually get started investing. So, one of the absolute easiest ways to start is something called micro-investing. You've probably seen these apps, right? The ones that round up your coffee purchase from, say, $3.50 to $4 and invest that 50 cents for you. It feels like nothing at the time, but trust me, adding $5 or $10 a week this way, it starts to snowball. More importantly, it builds that crucial habit of investing consistently. Next up, we've got a super powerful strategy called dollar cost averaging, or DCA for short. Forget about trying to time the market. That's a loser's game. With DCA, you just invest a fixed amount of money on a regular schedule, like clockwork. What this does is pretty cool. You automatically buy more when prices are low and less when they're high. Over the long haul, this smooths out your average cost, and best of all, it takes all the emotion and guesswork out of the equation. Okay, but where does the money actually go?
For pretty much every beginner, the best answer is a broad market index fund, or an ETF. Just think of it like buying a whole basket of stocks in one go. You get a tiny piece of hundreds of the biggest companies instantly. This means you're diversified right from the start, it's super low cost, and thanks to something called fractional shares, you can get in on the action with just that $100.
Okay, Section 4. The seed is planted in that good soil we prepared. But now for the big question. How do we make it grow faster? Because let's be honest, we can't just count on that one initial $100. We need to actively water this plant if we want to speed up the journey to that $10,000 goal.
So we start with our initial $100.
But to really kick things into high gear, we need to add a little something extra.
And that something extra is more income. You know, from side hustles. This is the secret sauce, right here. The absolute fastest way to turn $100 into $10,000 is to add more money to it. It's that simple. Whether you're freelancing, selling stuff online, whatever, every single extra dollar you can invest is like pouring pure fertilizer on your growing plant. And don't forget the other part of the magic, reinvesting all your dividends. When your investments pay you, don't just take that cash and spend it. Set it to reinvest automatically. Why? Because those dividends buy you more shares, which then are in their own dividends. This is compounding, and it's how your money starts making money for you. It creates this incredible exponential growth curve over time.
So, our growth strategy is set. But now, we get to what is honestly the most important and, yes, sometimes the hardest part of all, playing the long game. You gotta tend the garden. This requires patience, a long-term view, and the emotional grit to just let your investments do their thing, even when the market gets a little crazy.
And here are a few pro tips to help you on that journey. First, automate everything. Set it and forget it. That way it just happens in the background. Second, minimize your fees and taxes. Always choose low-fee funds because every penny you pay in fees is a penny that's not growing for you. Third, keep learning. And finally, as your pot of money gets bigger, you can start to slowly diversify to protect everything you've worked so hard to build.
And hey, let's be real for a minute. This whole investing thing is an emotional roller coaster. When the market takes a dive and you feel that pit of fear in your stomach, your strategy is to just stick to the plan. When growth feels painfully slow and you're getting impatient, you have to remember how compounding works. It's slow at first, then it really takes off. The trick is to feel the feelings, but don't let them make your decisions for you.
At the end of the day, this is all about setting realistic expectations. This isn't going to happen by next Tuesday. It's a marathon, remember, not a sprint. But here's the thing. Even while you're on the path to $10,000, you're building something way more valuable. You're building wealth-creating habits, discipline, and a financial mindset that's going to serve you for the rest of your life. That's the real prize.
Okay, so we've covered the mindset, the foundation, the strategy, the patience. We've covered the whole playbook. But none of it matters if you don't do one thing. It all comes down to taking that very first step. Today.
So, here it is, your mission brief. 4 simple steps. Number 1, open a low-cost investing account. Number 2, put your $100 into a broad market index fund or ETF. 3, set up an automatic investment, even just $10 a week. And 4, brainstorm one side hustle you can start this month. That's it. That's the plan. You can totally do this.
So, we end right back where we started, with that $100 seed. It might seem small right now, but it is absolutely packed with potential. The only real question left is, your seed money is ready, what are you gonna grow?